Hey dolls, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of Freaky Friday. This is episode 8 now, so we've been doing this for about 2 months. I do want to say, as much as I love these Freaky Fridays, please, if you want me to continue to do these, engage with these videos as much as possible, which I hate saying. I feel so needy saying this, but these videos only cater to a small handful of people that like spooky and horror, so not everybody is going to like that. But the issue with that is because I'm uploading twice a week, it's messing up my view average. I don't know if that makes sense, but now with the YouTube algorithm, it's not like back in the old days. If you subscribe to someone, they see your videos. They make it so much more complicated, and it's just a puzzle in order for your subscribers to actually see your content. So my views were higher before, but then when I started doing the Freaky Fridays, you know, a small portion of you really love horror and scary stuff, so you guys are great, but it's definitely not the same view rate as my normal videos. So what that does is it messes with my average, and what messing with my average does means that less of my subscribers are going to see my videos. So if you really do like these videos, share them with your friends, comment, thumbs up the video, just engage with the video, because then YouTube is going to see that you really like that content and the content is getting a good engagement rate. But anyway, this is the look I am creating for today's Freaky Friday. I have not done faux bangs in years, you guys. But before I keep blabbing like I always do, if you are not subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification to be notified when I upload videos. All right, dolls, let's get into this Freaky Friday. So today's first story is from Reyes. Hey girl, hey, lol, hey doll. So I don't think this is too freaky, but it's okay. We're gonna just roll with it. Ever since I was little, my mom would say that I would wave and say hi to things that weren't there. I never told anyone because I didn't want anyone to think I was weird. But I'm a medium. I see spirits and entities that other people cannot. I even see your aura and the physical energy that radiates off of your body. The earliest event, if you want to call it, of me coming into contact with a spirit was when I was 3. My neighbor had lost her husband and she was like my grandma. I would always be over her house, and I remember one day specifically we were visiting and I turned to my mom and told her, "Mom, the nice man is walking down the hall." She looked at me and told me, "Who do you see?" And I told her, "The nice man, the one that used to live here, he's walking down the hall." They kind of shrugged it off and didn't think anything of it. As I said previously, I never told anybody. As I got older, I noticed that I had a gift and I was very in tune and spiritually connected with it. I finally came out in high school and told my mom about these spirits that I would see. I specifically told her because I never got to meet my grandpa. He died way before I was born and he came to me. For many years, my mom felt guilty because she wasn't there for his death. She was in college working on her education here in the States. I even described clothing that he was wearing and she broke down because I was describing his most expensive suit that he would only wear on special occasions. Let's fast forward to when I met my husband in 2008. It took me about a year to come out and tell him. I really wanted to tell him, especially because a lot of weird things would happen inside of his house. You would hear footsteps as if somebody was walking down the hall, open the door, and nobody would be there. You would be in the kitchen cooking and there's a wall separating the kitchen from the living room, and you could see somebody as if they were popping out behind the wall and watching you. Ugh. And nobody would be there. The radios and TV would randomly turn on. It all made sense one day, and when we were looking for baby pictures and we came across a mahogany box that was in a closet. He then proceeded to pull out the mahogany box and laughed and said, "Have you ever met my dad?" I turned to him with this really weird look on my face and said, "What are you talking about?" He proceeded to hand me the box. On this box was his dad's name. He later told me that when his dad passed away in 2007, he was supposed to be taken back to Mexico and buried with his family. To this day, his dad's ashes are still in my mother-in-law's house. However, this ties into my son. So with this special gift that has been given to me, I believe that it was passed down through generations. My mom had an aunt that was a healer and medium as well. My mom always told me that I reminded her of my aunt to the point where she nicknamed me after her. So fast forwarding to about 6.5 years ago, we were sitting in the living room at my mother-in-law's house, and my son is about 1.5 at this point. I just saw him walk across the living room, stop dead in his tracks, look at the chair that was sitting right in the middle of the room. His face turned white and his eyes wide. He lifted his little finger, pointed, and said, "Abuelo," or Grandpa. I turned to him and said, "Zachary, what are you talking about?" "Abuelo was home." And he said, "No, no, no. Abuelo, sit on chair." I looked at my husband and said, "Are you hearing this?" We were both in shock because right after he ran to the fridge and pointed. On my mother-in-law's fridge, there is a picture that has sun damage to it, causing a lot of ink to bleed and discolor. The only person in this picture that is not discolored or damaged is my father-in-law. Oh, my son pointed at the picture and said, "Abuelo, sitting on chair." To this day, he hasn't done anything like that again. I guess what I'm trying to get at is spirits are out there that haven't finished what they needed to do here. That's why they linger around. Also, if you have a gift, embrace it because some beautiful things can come of it and you can help people get through tough times. I was so afraid of not being accepted, but those that know my gift embrace me and it. Love you, doll. From Erica, previously from LA, now resides in San Diego. Thank you so much, Erica, for your story. And it really is true about mediums helping people get through things, because I actually, when I was going through a really tough time getting through my grandfather's death, I was very skeptical of mediums, but I was so desperate to just possibly hear anything about him. I honestly didn't think the medium was going to come back with a lot of information, but she did, and stuff that she would not know, and it really did help me get through the tougher times, and I'm really happy just to know that my grandfather's happy. So yes, this next one is from Amanda. "Hi Ashley, I'm a big fan and a longtime subscriber. Been watching you since high school, and I am now a college graduate. Love you so much." Oh, congratulations. I am very sensitive to things like this, which is why I think they scare me so much. For as long as I can remember, I've always seen or heard things. I can always feel the shift in the energy when I come into a room. This particular experience has happened multiple times with different rooms at my work. I work at a town's local nursing home, and it's the only nursing home in a 100-mile radius. I work afternoon to nights. Well, one night I was in a room laying down a patient. The room I absolutely hate going into is very heavy. I already had a bad experience on graveyard with it. I seen a black figure just run. Well, that night I was laying down, B bed, and this room has 3 beds. Well, C bed woke up, and all I heard from the other side of the curtain was, "What, sweetie? You want to get up? You're hungry?" When I walked over to her and asked who she was talking to, she said, "Them, my friends." No one was near me, and she pointed behind me. I brushed it off and kept working. Then I am back with B bed, and C bed's wheelchair, which was next to her bed, moves. It backed up and turned and stopped in front of the mirror. I ran out immediately. Ooh, that's scary. In another room down the hall months later, I was laying down another patient. She stopped, looked next to me, and said, "You better leave her alone." Mind you, no one is next to me. I asked her, "Who were you talking to?" She said, "That man next to you. Don't worry, he's gone. I scared him off for you." Oh my gosh. There was no one next to me. I left pretty quickly after that. To this day, those patients still talk to them every night. Everyone says they are talking to themselves, but I don't believe they are. I have plenty others to share. I swear I heard La Llorona one night. Ooh, I'll have to tell you about it, but it's a little R-rated. But yeah, I'm pretty sure entities are attracted to me because of all the experiences I've had throughout my life. I love you, doll, Amanda. That's so scary when spirits are attracted to you for some reason and you honestly feel like you're never alone. Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing your story. And yes, definitely send over that La Llorona story. So this next story is from Olivia. "Hi, love. I've always loved your channel, but these Freaky Fridays are just out of this world good." Oh, thank you. Yay. Love them. I'm a bit of a skeptic, even though I have experienced many paranormal things. Maybe it's because my dad is a very rational person and never reacts when I tell him about my experiences. My mom, on the other hand, is very religious and doesn't like me telling things to her. So I was quite young, maybe 6 to 7 years old, when my dad and my stepmom were about to buy a house. One day my dad, my sister, my stepmom, her son, and her friend who was selling the house wanted to see it. It was very old and in bad shape. Just what my dad would love. It was overall creepy with its dark and muddy pond and an abandoned looking barn at the yard, close to a deep forest. Us kids were looking around the place while the adults were talking next to the front door. I liked the place and felt oddly safe in it, like the house was calling me. Mind you, I was a very shy and anxious kid and didn't easily feel safe. I went upstairs alone and met an old man who was looking through a small window. He turned around when I said hi to him, but he didn't say or do anything. I quickly looked around the room to see what I thought of it. I went close to the man because I wanted to see the view. He didn't seem to be bothered by me, just kept on looking outside with a faint smile on his face. Hearing my dad coming upstairs, I ran to meet him to tell him that I really liked the house and that I asked him if the man upstairs was another buyer or the current owner. He just looked at me quite puzzled and went upstairs into the room, which was empty. We had been standing on the stairs, so no one could have exited that room without us noticing. My dad obviously thought I was kidding and didn't mention it again after. The next story takes place a couple years back. I was about 17 years old, sitting outside a sauna in a changing room with my uncle's girlfriend. It was dark, but we had lights on. We were chatting cheerfully when suddenly I felt weird, like someone had stepped into the room. I look at the window and see a man's face there. At first, I thought it was some of my uncle's friends coming to see if they could come to the sauna, but then I realized that the man wasn't outside. It looked like the reflection came from someone sitting next to my uncle's girlfriend. I was mildly freaking out inside, but I didn't say anything. It just didn't seem right. After a while, the tension that I had felt left, and my uncle's girlfriend said very clearly if I had felt something there sitting next to her. She told me she didn't dare say anything while she had felt it, and then I told her what I had seen and felt. Still creeps me out to think of it. I can't explain what happened. We never spoke about it afterwards. We were so scared. The man had felt evil. I hope you enjoyed my stories, and I'm glad to send you some more. Cause, ooh girl, I have these. Kisses, hugs, and love from Olivia. That is so creepy. Thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing your story, but that is really scary. The fact that you guys both saw that and there was nothing there is really creepy. This next one is another fairly short story, which is great. I want to fit some short ones in. It is from Carolina. Hi Ashley, first off, let me say you're beautiful and I love your videos. Thank you, my love. The story begins when I was still an infant and my older brother was 1 or so. We were living with our parents and grandparents in Las Chiapas, Chihuahua, Mexico, a very small village of less than 200. While my parents needed to come to the United States for some reason, but they didn't want to drive to the nearest, biggest town to cross the border properly. Instead, they chose to cross at an open area with no fence between the United States and Mexico. Before we left, my grandma told my parents, "Ten cuidado, Dios te bendiga." Her warning to be careful was not only out of care, but also fear. For it was nightfall, and at night everyone in the village knew the evil bruja, which is a witch, came out to cause harm, even death. Before we left, my mom had covered my brother and my car seat with blankets for protection, and then we were on our way. The drive was going fine until their worst fears came true as they arrived at the border. The evil bruja suddenly appeared, making my dad slam on his brakes. She was looking right at my parents and then started flying around the car. Oh, hell no. My dad told my mama to make sure we were covered to protect us. As my dad watched the bruja, my mama sat next to him, praying to the Lord for protection. My mama said it felt like a lifetime before the bruja vanished. My parents then sped away for fear of her return. By the grace of God, we were not harmed. To this day, my parents strongly believe it was because my mom's prayers that the bruja didn't harm us. We moved to the United States a short time later, and over the years, the town has almost become a ghost town, but it is believed that the bruja still terrorizes those who live there. I hope this isn't too long and you'll read it on Freaky Friday. Much love from New Mexico. Thank you so much, Carolina. That is so creepy. This next story is from Waverly. Hi Ashley, I absolutely love your new Freaky Friday videos. I look forward to them all week. Oh yay! After watching your most recent video, I finally got the courage to submit my story. I get called crazy at least 3 times a week when I tell people the things I have seen, so I'm very excited to share my story with people who believe too. Here is my story. I'm not sure if you have similar things in the US, but in the UK we have these ghost hunts. Oh, I always wanted to do one and I will do one. However, they are run by a group of mediums and you get to go to all these amazing haunted buildings and do Ouija boards. Oh, that I'm not going to do. Table tipping and use all their equipment such as EMF, electromagnetic field. detectors, which basically can tell you if a ghost or its energy is nearby. It's also worth mentioning that my mom and I are sensitives, especially my mom. One night, we arrived at this beautiful building and the night starts. All the usuals happen. All our questions are being answered on the Ouija board. The table is practically running around the rooms. People are being touched and things are thrown. I also forgot to say this tour is at a 200-year-old long abandoned asylum. Anyway, the usual is happening and my mom starts to feel really sick and her face goes extremely white. This usually happens too. She gets faint and can't stand up anymore, so the medium helps her to the floor. You can feel the energy rise in the room. Imagine being in a room with 200 very excited people. That's kind of what the energy feels like. In reality, there was about 20 very scared people in the room. All around us are mirrors, all completely covered in dust. The medium keeps asking this spirit to leave my mom alone. He and my mom keep hearing laughing, and I start to feel tightness around my neck, like someone is strangling me. The medium screams at the spirit to leave or else he will get the doctor, which is something he says to scare the prisoners away. Everything stops all at once, and my mom stands up perfectly fine. Someone points out the word Waverly has been written in the dust on one of the mirrors. Yeah, that's my damn name. I absolutely hate my name, so no one calls me it. Everyone there knew my name is Paige, my middle name, and my mom calls me Paige all the time, so there is absolutely no way anyone there knew my name. The medium also didn't know my name, just looked at me. We're all confused. Everyone's trying to figure out what Waverly means. Someone actually said there was a pub about 3 hours away called the Waverly, which I found quite funny, but at the same time absolutely terrified that a ghost knew my name and spelt it right, which never happens. I didn't say it was my name. As we leave the room, the medium comes up to me and says, "I thought your name was Paige." I explained, and he went on to explain to me that some of the prisoners there liked me. Oh, hell no! And have a violent bet on my head. He wouldn't tell me anymore, but told me to stay close to him. What the hell? We go into some more rooms. I'm sure you can see where this is going. We head to the morgue. In the morgue is a huge concrete slab and a number of rusty tools. The group's leader gets out the Ouija board and puts it on the slab. There is always a lot of residual energy in the morgue, and this is usually where shit gets serious. We are asking questions, but the spirit never answers the questions. Instead, it pushed the glass towards me after every question. The medium tells me a man is standing behind me. I'm the youngest there and one of only a few women, so I guess the prisoners were just happy to see women. The glass keeps coming to me after every question, so I'm getting a little bored and ask the spirit what he wants with me. The medium screams at me to take my hands off the glass and go outside with about 5 of the mediums. I leave and the medium takes my hands and form a circle of light around me. I believe this is a form of religious protection. My mom came out about 20 minutes later and said that the spirit was telling the medium all of the ways he wanted to hurt me and that he was trying to attach himself to me so he could follow me home. The medium performed a ceremony to try to reduce the spirit's power. After the tour, my mom drops me off home and I get in bed. I lay in bed next to my fiance and tell him what happened. I then wake up at the favorite time, 3 a.m., absolutely terrified. I'm shaking, sweating, squeezing my fiance's arms so tight. He's asking me what's wrong and I honestly don't know. I just know I'm scared. I look into the corner of my room and see a dark figure about 6 feet tall. I scream and the figure moves next to my fiance. I then scream at the spirit to leave my fiance alone and he disappears. I can deal with the shit, but my fiance can't. And ain't no ghost gonna hurt my man. The next day, I ring the tour group who gives me the medium's number who I meet at the asylum again. He performs some ritual and I don't feel scared anymore. Since then, I haven't seen or heard anything else, apart from every time I have been on a tour. Whilst doing the Ouija board, the spirit moves the glass to me once after a question. The question is always either, "What do you want?" or "What are you doing here?" I believe this is the spirit from the prison. Thank you for taking the time to read my long-ass story. I hope you enjoyed it. This is my favorite thing that's happened to me on tour. You're a girl, you are crazy! Favorite thing! I cannot believe that they were telling the mediums what they wanted to do to you, or that specific prisoner, and the fact that he followed you home, that is so dang creepy. Thank you so much, Waverly or Paige, for sharing your story. This next story is from Cindy and it's titled Possessed 3-Year-Old. Hello doll, I love this series and I look forward to your Freaky Fridays every week. I hope my story makes it into one of your videos. I know it's long, so bear with me. Here it goes. Back in 2014, my husband and I decided to start looking for a house to buy. Our daughter was almost 3 years old at the time and we had our second baby on the way, so it was time to look for a bigger place. We found a house in the city of Southgate, California. The house was a 2-bedroom home. The master was huge, so we decided to put my daughter's little bed in there. Meanwhile, we would use the second bedroom as the guest room. The first few weeks after we moved in, strange things started happening. The door to the guest room would open and all of a sudden I would hear it slam shut. I would go check and sure enough, the door was closed. My daughter's toys were also in that room and sometimes her toys would turn on in the middle of the night. I would tell myself, the wind probably made the door close or the batteries in the toy must be malfunctioning. You know how you say we always try to justify weird shit? Well, girl, I was doing exactly that. My husband would tell me it was just my imagination. About 1 month after we moved in, my daughter started waking up in the middle of the night. She would get out of her bed, open the bedroom door, and walk down to the hallway. She would stand right in front of the guest bedroom and stare inside the room. She wouldn't say anything. She would just stand there for a few minutes, then turn around, walk back into our room and into her bed. I thought maybe she was sleepwalking, so I would simply say, "Come back to bed." And after a minute or two, she would come back to her bed and fall back asleep. Shortly after that started happening, my husband had to go out of town on a business trip. I still didn't feel comfortable staying by myself in this new house, so I asked my mom if she could come stay with me while my husband was out of town. The first night my mom stayed with me, I put my daughter to sleep as I normally would. My mom and I were getting ready to go to sleep as well. It was close to midnight when all of a sudden my daughter got out of her bed, walked towards the hallway, and once again stared at the door to the guest room. I told my mom, "Así eso casi todas noches." She does that almost every night. My mom said, "Qué raro," how weird. I walked towards my daughter and said, "Come to bed." I started walking towards her. When I was right behind her, she turned around and suddenly the look in her eyes was not my daughter. I swear to you, the way she looked at me was not my daughter looking at me. Her eyes looked angry and evil. Then in a deep, almost demonic voice, she screamed, "Leave me alone." She then ran towards the back door of the house, opened it, and ran to the backyard and started running in circles. I didn't know what to do. I ran after her, trying to catch her. When I was finally able to get her, she started fighting me, scratching my face, and trying to slap me. I kept telling her, it's me, it's okay." My daughter finally calmed down and looked at me and started sobbing. She hugged me so tight and I told her, "It's okay, mommy is here." When I went back inside the house, my mom was praying a Padre Nuestro. She asked whatever thing or person was there to leave, that they weren't welcome. I prayed with her. My daughter spiked a fever that night after this happened. My mom is a firm believer in limpias. If you're Mexican, then you know what the limpia de huevo is. LOL. You get an egg, pass it over the person's body to rid them of any bad vibes or juju while saying a prayer. She did it to my daughter that night. Eventually, her fever went away and she was also able to sleep. The next day, we went to church to get holy water and bless the house. Things calmed down after that day. My daughter never did that again and she stopped waking up in the middle of the night. After we moved out, my husband confessed that he started feeling very uneasy when we moved in. He didn't want to startle me because he knew how scared I was, but he said things would happen to him. He would feel someone breathing behind him and sometimes he would catch my daughter whispering in the guest room as if she's talking to someone. My daughter has no recollection of anything, thank God, but my mom and I will never forget that terrible night. That is so creepy. I wonder what it is about the guest room or what happened in the guest room, why it was so fixated on that guest room. Thank you so much, Cindy, for sharing your story. And now we have time for one more story, which is always the sad part of the video. This one is from Kelsey, and it says, "Hi Ashley, I'm from a town outside London in the UK. I'm a huge fan of your channel, and you are a huge inspirational figure to me. Thank you so much, my love. That is so sweet. This is a story I haven't actually spoken about at all. But when I was in primary school, I had a close friend whose house I would stay over occasionally. And her house always had a heavy and creepy vibe to it, so I often didn't really want to stay the night or stay for long. One night I was in a room and we shared her bunk bed, and from where I was laying down, I could see out of the door. It was around 2 in the morning and she had fallen asleep, but I was up watching TV. When from the corner of my eye, I saw something. When I turned to look, I saw a dark figure of what I can only assume was a strong-built man, and I just had this fear in me because he seemed aggressive. He was carrying something heavy in his hand, walking across the hall into her parents' room. It scared me so much that I woke my friend up crying. When I told her the story, she casually replied, "Yeah, we all know he's there. You have nothing to worry about." But I was terrified that every time I stayed after, we slept downstairs and I never saw it again. Fast forward to my adult life, the friend that I had lost contact with contacted me, and she explained that they were knocking down a wall in her house. Now, because these houses were built during World War II for people to see safe housing, the walls weren't built great and they were actually stuffed full of newspaper when a new wall was built into the house. She told me how she was looking at the piles of newspaper she found and found a paper of a woman who was murdered in her sleep because she was beaten to death with a hammer. Intrigued, she went to the library to find out more to discover it was her house where the murder took place, and the lady was actually murdered by her husband in the 50s. My skin crawls knowing this, and I am positive that who or what I saw was the man on his way across the hall to murder his wife. To this day, over 10 years on, I will not go into her house, and her parents herself still live there. I hope you enjoyed this. Kelsey from London, UK. Her parents still live there? That is crazy. I often wonder what these ghosts think when they sort of recreate or try to recreate what has happened. Do they live in like this constant memory? Thank you so much, Kelsey, for sharing your spooky story. All right, dolls, so now we are going to move on to the outfit, hopefully unspook you guys a little bit so you can sleep comfortably at night.
Okay, dolls, so for the outfit, I am wearing this polka dotted bodysuit that I got from Boohoo. You might have seen it in one of my previous hauls. And I paired it with my Naked Wardrobe leggings. These are extremely comfortable leggings. They are not see-through and really affordable. I always like to pair them with my retro outfits. And for the belt, I got the belt from Vixen by Micheline Pitt. Now here I have paired it with my leather jacket from Doll's Kill, which I had in my previous haul. I love the chains on it. It kind of gives a nice little bad girl vibe. And here is a close-up with the chains. They're nice little skulls. And just taking off the jacket so you can see a close-up of the outfit. But just a cute little retro style outfit that I love. And then I paired them with my Pleaser mules that I purchased.
So here is the final look for this week. I really wanted to go outside of my comfort zone with this green look. I was winging it and I think it came out pretty good, so I'm pretty happy about that. I hope you dolls enjoyed this look, and I hope you enjoyed the stories that I shared. Thank you to all the dolls who shared their stories with me. If you have a story that you would like to submit, please submit it to freakyfridays2019@gmail.com. And I will see you next week. Have a Freaky Friday. Bye, loves.